but whatever. For some reason, I can't turn this fucking dome light off. Fucking truck. Well, good morning, freedom marchers, freedom fighters, freedom lovers, freedom family. Welcome to Freedom's March. It is Monday, January 9th, 2022. Yesterday was my son's birthday. Yeah, had a good time at the little bouncy trampoline house thingy. And I just wanted to get into some stuff, man. Hold on. Give me a minute. How y'all doing out there? If I know it's mad early, but you know, hell, I'm on the road back to Georgia, back to Dalton, Georgia for work. So, you know, I figured I'll come holler at y'all real quick, get some shit off my mind. Yeah. So do me a favor, if y'all come up in here, hit the like button, and we can get this party rolling. Okay. Hold on, y'all. I didn't even mean to start this thing yet. Bear with me. So, I don't know if y'all heard the news about Andrew Tate, but you know, supposedly he was hospitalized, y'all. Supposedly he was hospitalized. Apparently his manager came out and said it's true that he's hospitalized. And said that he's okay, or whatever the case may be. I just think this is very interesting. Is this a psyop designed to distract us from something? Because there has been a lot of dog and pony shows going on in the past week. You know, we got the John McCarthy situation where, you know, the vote, you know, he was finally voted in as the House Speaker, but, you know, there was a lot of drama involved, and, you know, there was supposedly supposed to be some fighting and all this, that, and the third, and there was so much attention drawn to that, so much attention drawn to Andrew Tate, so much attention drawn to these different little bullshit topics. And I'm just wondering what's really going on here. Like, are they distracting us from something? You know, are they trying to set something up? Are they trying to keep us, you know, entertained? You know how they say with the bread and circuses, right? Give them bread and circuses and they'll never revolt. And so we got a lot of shit going on in regards to there's a lot going on. There's a lot they're presenting us with. And you have to wonder, or at least I do, what is the end goal here? What's the program? And so I just want to talk about that. You know, Andrew Tate said that there were 3 strikes, basically, when you go against the machine, when you go against the matrix or whatever. And the first thing they do is they try to cancel you off of social media. The second thing they try to do is they try to lock you up for some bullshit. And then they try, if that doesn't work, if they can't silence you in that regard, then they go ahead and snuff you out, right? But those two things happened. Two of those things happened. He was canceled off all social media platforms for the most part. And then they took him to jail for sex trafficking, or not sex trafficking, human trafficking and sexual abuse. Several women have come forward saying that they were victims of Andrew Tate, okay? And so, but here's the funny thing about the arrest in the first place and what led to the arrest. They said that there was a pizza box Andrew Tate had in front of him that gave the authorities the clue that he was in Romania. But then, and I brought this up in a previous live stream, and then they went to his house to arrest him. Now, if the Romanian police or whatever, if they were looking to arrest Andrew Tate, but hadn't because they didn't know where he was, then a pizza box would not give that, would not alert them to his presence in Romania, right? And if they went to his house to arrest him, that means clearly Andrew Tate was not somewhere at some type of fucking safe house. He wasn't at some safe house somewhere. He wasn't hiding out. He wasn't at an undisclosed location. He was at his house. Not only that, when Andrew Tate came back to Romania, they would know that he came back as soon as he landed. They would know that he was on the way. You know, even if he flew private, there's a passenger manifest that you have to give, all this type of shit, itineraries, flight paths, and all that type of shit. Unless he was smuggled in on a boat somewhere, which he wasn't. And then they would have been staking his house out. So, this whole attention being drawn to the pizza box is very interesting to me. What else has to do with pizza? Right? What else has to do with pizza? Right? Pizza and Podesta, pizza and Clinton. That's all I'm going to say about that. Right? What are they trying to do here? And then the whole Illuminati sign that he threw up, allegedly, supposedly he threw up Illuminati sign. Like, and then there's all the cameras and all this type of shit and how it looked like a movie production when they went and arrested him. It's just a lot of very interesting things going on. And, this has been building for months, right? This has been building for months. This whole Andrew Tate thing has been building for months. And so he's speaking all these things about the Matrix, breaking away from the system, men being masculine and staying masculine, getting back to masculinity, all this other shit, preaching that. I have to wonder, was he allowed to do that, right? Was he allowed to speak out like that and all that shit? Go against this this idea of femininity, which is not really the feminist movement, all this type of things, all this shit, so that they could snatch him, so that they can make an example of him in order to deter other people from really pushing that agenda, pushing the whole thing about men getting back on their purpose, men becoming leaders again, and not allowing the government to just run right over them and being rebellious and all that type of shit. Was he allowed to do that in order for them to make an example out of him, to scare other men, to say, oh, well, if they can do this to Andrew Tate, they can do this to us? And I'm gonna tell y'all, man, this speaks to also what happened to Andrew Tate, right? It speaks to, you cannot run, right? You cannot run from the powers that be. What is that? What am I talking about? there's this idea, right? And I told y'all my homeboy moved to Africa because he wanted to get away from the oppression of the United States. He went to Tanzania. And, you know, his whole thing was, well, I need to get out of the United States. They're doing too much, this, that, and the third. But here's the thing we need to understand. It's not the power of the individuals that actually run this country are not limited to the United States. You understand what I'm saying? It's not limited to the United States. They can reach out and touch you anywhere if they so choose. They can start shit anywhere if they so choose. And sorry for the shaky camera, y'all. This is not the most stable. It's not the most stable fucking caddy, you know, phone caddy. But bear with me. They can reach out and touch you anywhere. There is nowhere they can't reach, right? Because guess what? These people don't have to worry about passports. They don't have to worry about visas. They don't have to worry about any of that. They don't even have to leave the United States to get to your ass, right? What, you know, have you heard of an asset? An intelligence asset. They're all over the place. And so when he's like, oh, well, you know, his whole reasoning for leaving the United States, to me, was a little bit ridiculous. Now, if you want to go to Africa for culture and you want to get back to your roots and all that type of shit, and that's where you think your roots are, and you feel a connection to Africa, and you just want to go there for that reason, well, that's perfectly fine. No issue. But don't think that going to Africa, going to Romania, going to Turkey, all these different places where everybody feels like they can get away from the influence of the United States. That's a complete delusional mind state. And that's something Andrew Tate talked about. Oh, the West this, the West that, get out of the United States, and it ain't shit, and all this other money and all that. Oh, the money ain't working and all that. But look what happened, right? Look what happened, because there's this idea that the United States government influenced Romania to go get Andrew Tate. Let me tell y'all something. If you have government officials in a certain country that's not the United States, and we know governments are corrupt, they can't help but be corrupt. If government exists and is as big as it is, there is corruption, because everybody has a price. Everybody has a price, and that's why you don't allow people to get to the level where they're controlling so many people and so much of the infrastructure, so much of anything that people need in society to function, right? That's what we allowed to do here in America. But like I said, they were able, even if Romania didn't get influenced by the United States government, you cannot run from government anywhere. If government is so widespread, and all these countries have adopted some form of government, all the countries, all the world's people, they have allowed the few to control the many. And they have been given this illusion that there is this democracy where you can vote and you can get the person you want to represent you, this prime minister, that president, all this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, you have allowed the power of your region, of your area, of your country, of your landmass to be centralized. And you have allowed all things to go through them. The way you live your life, how you spend your money, how you earn money. Because if you earn money, well, they got to tax your ass. They have to fund the oppressive machine. And so if you believe, just because, oh, in Romania, I can give a police officer $300 and they'll leave me alone. That's pretty much what Andrew Tate was saying. Oh, he can bribe the police, he can do this, do that. But there's one thing he failed to understand, or maybe he didn't maybe he did understand this. Maybe he did understand it, and maybe he's an actor, maybe he's an agent, I have no idea. Or maybe he did the things that they said he did with the whole trafficking thing. And that's another thing I'm gonna touch on as well. But yeah, you might be able to bribe a police officer here and there, bribe this, bribe that, but there's nothing more enticing to these people, to the elite class, to the oligarchs, than influence and power. There's nothing more enticing than that. All the money in the world, it's not going to do anything. Power, influence, promises, right? Access to certain things, favors, maintaining an alliance, maintaining some sort of relationship, that's more important to the powers that be, and shouldn't, than the goddamn bribes that you give the Romanian police. Andrew Tate wanted you to believe that if you, as long as you don't live in America, you good. Yeah, I live in Bucharest or whatever the fuck. Oh, I can go here, I can go there, I can come and go about freely. I got all this bread. Look what they did to fucking the Russians. Look what they did to these Russian oligarchs after Putin invaded Ukraine. If they could do that, if they could seize a Russian oligarch's boat, do this, do that, if they could, listen, trust me, it does not matter where you go. Let's get out of that. When somebody tells you that, oh, you got to get out of the United States because, you know, you got to go here or go there. Even if there's an extradition treaty or no extradition treaty, let's say some country that, oh, I'm going to go to this country, they don't have an extradition treaty with the United States. You think that fucking matters? If they really wanted to get your ass? Understand the reach. If you go to a country without extradition, that gives you even less listen, you are even more vulnerable, right? Because when they come get you, they do not have to go through proper channels. You are essentially a ghost. You have no rights. You're in a country where you were not born there, you don't have citizenship, anything like that. And when they come to get you, guess what? You're not going to be in the system. So understand, you have to move strategically. If you are going to put yourself out there like that, like he did, there's certain things that you should not say. There's certain things that you should not do. There's a certain level of arrogance you should not have. And I gotta be honest, I don't believe Andrew Tate. I mean, the shit he was saying and talking about, it's not like he had access to intelligence or anything like that. He was just had a huge voice and a lot of influence. He wasn't somebody like Julian Assange or somebody like that had access to certain information. No, he was just some guy, right? Some guy who got wealthy, putting females on webcams and all this, that, and the third, and started his little university, this little pyramid scheme. And yeah, he was talking about getting out of the matrix, doing this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, like, what level of threat really was he? Was he really a threat? I mean, we know that he was canceled on social media. He was canceled here, canceled there, all that. Yeah. But was he a threat Was he really a threat to the establishment in any regard? He was just some rich guy who had a bunch of cars and could, you know, they really could have played him off as a clown, but they didn't. And you have to wonder why. Many different possibilities, many different reasons that could be. But he kind of played himself while he was doing what he was doing. While he was out here pushing masculinity, pushing rebelling against, raging against the machine, right? There's certain things that he said and brought attention to that really opened him up to what's going on right now, man. Him talking about his webcam business, him talking about how he was able to get women to come to him, and he was able to basically turn them out and get them to make him money. And he openly talked about this in his videos, in his all this type of shit on podcasts, just basically just throwing it out there. And he opened himself up to what they're doing to him right now. And that is why you have to be careful about what you say, about what you do and how you do it. He basically said that he would convince women to, he would sell them a dream. And once he had a hold of them, get them to turn tricks, essentially. Turn tricks via webcam. Now, in some circles, they call that pimping, right? And pimping is considered a crime. Considered a crime, right? Even though we also have to understand, though, right, that there has to be an accountability on all parties, all adult parties. There has to be some accountability. But there will not be accountability for these young women that have decided. Let me tell y'all something, man. There was indeed an incident where Andrew Tate was raided before, right? Because a woman said that he had held her captive and wouldn't let her go to her boyfriend. She texted. Her boyfriend found out that she was kicking it with Andrew Tate, right? And he's like, yo, what the fuck? Why are you kicking it? What's going on? You know what I'm saying? And this happened. Now, this was in America. And America, pay attention to that. Why the fuck you chilling with Andrew Tate? And she's like, oh, well, he made me come and he won't let me leave. The boyfriend gets a hold of the authorities, and then this happens. Now, we're talking about one man from the United States somehow got the Romanian police to raid Andrew Tate's house. But Andrew Tate still has this idea in his head that, yo, I'm out of the West. I'm not in the United States, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that has happened, and it came out, through her text messages and stuff, that she had made the whole thing up. And that kind of muddies, listen, facts and evidence. That's what you got to go by. But he brought this on himself. Not that particular incident, right? That was all her fault. We have to, listen, women have to be held accountable. Everybody has to be held accountable for their actions. If Andrew Tate did anything nefarious with these women, he has to be held accountable, point blank in the period. Just like if these young women decided to agree to do these things, they have to be held accountable for that. If he didn't put a gun to their head and say, you're gonna fucking do this webcam shit, bitch, or if he didn't handcuff them or anything like that, you know, there are times where like these women, they're going out to buy purses and shoes, and well, if you were being forced or held against your will, why go out and buy shoes and purses instead of just buying a ticket to fly home? You're getting paid, all this, and that's what this is about, accountability, right? But for whatever reason, and this is what I'm seeing throughout the months, the last few months, I've been seeing it because I've been looking into it more. I've been paying more attention to this side of all the social media. Women are not being held accountable at the same level as men. Women can accuse men of sexual abuse, all this, that, and the third, and get found out that they were lying, and nothing happens to them. But these men's lives are ruined. Their credibility is shot. Even if it comes out, oh, the women lied, blah, blah, blah. They're still looking like, you done already tarnished my name. You done already did all the shit. You know, with Aliza Blue, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Aliza Blue, but I don't really know much about her. But I do know that she calls herself a survivor's advocate for two women that say that they had been basically abused by Andrew Tate. Like in some form or fashion, they were against their will forced to do certain things with Andrew Tate. And what I found interesting, because she was on the Tim Pool show, and you know, they tried to put the pressure on her, Tim Pool and this other guy, and you know, they knew, well, we got to be very careful because we don't want to seem insensitive to women's plight. So they really couldn't go in like they wanted to. They did a little bit, but I had to pay attention to the words she used, right? Because she is a survivor's advocate for two women, the two anonymous women who wrote statements. And we know what happens when certain things happen to certain men of a certain stature, right? They're accused of something by one woman, or they're accused by a government of something, and then they start coming out of the woodwork. Oh, well, Andrew Tate did this, Andrew Tate did that, Andrew Tate. And she's trying to convince other women to come out and essentially accuse Andrew Tate of doing things to them, right? But I like to pay attention to the words she used, because they would ask her, well, what did he do exactly? Do you have some proof? Is there evidence that he did these things? What did he do? How did he do it? You know, do you believe these women? You know what I mean? And they're asking her like, yo, like, how do we know this is fucking real? Basically. And they can't actually say it like that, but they can ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, how damning is the evidence, all this, that, and the third. They can't really ask like they want to, but she don't want to give it up. She's like, no, I can't talk about that. I can't talk about this. I can't talk about that. But she'll say things like, they ask her, do you believe them 100% that this happened to them? And what she said was, I believe all the women that I advocate for. Which is kind of vague, right? And at what level do you believe them? Because you can say that, like, or you can say I believe them, and you could be talking about, well, I believe that they actually knew Andrew Tate, that they had some contact with him. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you believe that Andrew Tate did these horrible things to them. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm getting at? And here's the most crucial thing that she said that had me like, about the different ways you can abuse a victim like that. This is right. I can't fucking turn it off. Right? And she focused on the word coercion. She said, you can be physically forced, physically restrained, physically this, physically that, right? Like handcuffs, tied up, physically kidnapped, all this, that, and the third. And Andrew, Tim Pool mentioned that how these women, or certain women would say, well, Andrew Tate would ask him, Andrew Tate would go to these women, give them the idea that, yo, you're going to be my girlfriend, you're going to this, that, I'm going to fly you out, we're going to kick it, it's me and you, baby. Yeah. But when they get to him, he's like, you know what, I'm going to go. And he'll leave or some shit like that. And next thing you know, they doing webcam shit. Right? And when he mentions that, and he talked about how a woman said that somewhere in New York or some shit, she focused on that word coercion, about how, coercion can be done in many different ways, right? Coercion is not really an open threat. It's like being convinced or being manipulated into doing something that you didn't really want to do, right? Cops do it all the time, no problem, right? Cops can do it. They can coerce victims into, they can coerce alleged suspects into signing confessions or saying certain things that could get them, grand juried and indicted, all this type of shit. Cops do it all the time. Cops use coercion all the time. And it doesn't have to be threats. It could be something like, oh, well, you don't want to go you want to get locked up and leave your grandmother with nobody to help her out, right? You're sure they'll use different things, right? They'll say different things in different ways. And I have to, now, here's my thing, man. At some point with these women, at some level, you have to know who Andrew Tate is. You have to know the type of person he is. You have to know what he's about. You have to know that he's a millionaire, playboy, this, that, and the third, and you probably ain't gonna be his woman unless you're that naive. And should a man be criminalized for a woman's naivety? If he brings her out and says, yo, you're gonna be my girl, I need a woman in my life, can you be that woman? And she's like, oh yeah, well, yes, and actually thinks she's gonna be his girlfriend, and then comes out and he's like, I think you can make a lot of money on the webcam business, right? Basically, he had no intention of being her boyfriend or whatever. Like, it was just, he manipulated her. And at some point, when she finds out, she has to make a choice. Well, do I want to do this or do I want to go home? I can make a lot of money. I can become wealthy to a degree. I can make $100,000. I just got to give him some of my money because he's doing the production and setup and his whatever. Is that, you had the question, is that a crime? Is it a crime? Just like with pimps on the street, with streetwalkers. Usually when a pimp gets a chick to turn tricks, he's like more sweet. Like, he sells her a dream. He's talking to her real nice. Telling her a lot of great things are going to happen. And then at some point, he's like, but I need you to go out here. I need you to make some money for us. You know what I'm saying? What you think, baby girl? I got you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to make sure you're good. But all you got to do is, I'm your bank. Give me the money. I'll make sure you're good. I'll make sure you got all the nice, this, that, and that. she has to make a choice. And she might be young, she might be naive, but is that a crime though? Now, what a pimp does afterward, when he finally has her locked in and where he wants her, and she's doing the turning of the tricks and all that shit, and then she starts rebelling and he starts beating her ass, that's of course that's a crime. That shouldn't be going on. But does she have a choice? Before she goes down that road, does she have a choice? And this is why you have to protect your daughters. This is why family is important. People don't seem to understand this. People don't seem to understand this, right? The government, COINTELPRO and all that, they broke up families. And even today, we're so focused on they're breaking up families. Like, family is important. If you have a father and a mother in your life, the odds of you becoming a more successful adult is much greater than if you just have a single parent household. Many of these women would not fall under the spell of these type of dudes if they had a father in their life that was actually a good father, that was not doing something bad to them in the first place. Because let's face it, let's understand that as well. Some of these fathers are nasty, and they're doing things to their daughters, and this fucks their mind up, and so they become more susceptible to falling. You know what I'm saying? It's gross. But if you have a father in that child's life, and he's a good father, he has great intentions for his children, and he wants his children to succeed, and he wants his children to understand how a man's mind works. He wants his daughters to understand how a man's mind works, so that they don't fall victim to predatory men. Look out for this sign. Don't just trust what they're saying. If they're trying to sell you a dream and it sounds too good to be true, don't even deal with it. Right? Find you a nerd. Get what you know what I'm saying? These bad boys and all this type of shit. All that. Yeah, because women like dangerous men. But there has to be a balance. Right? A dangerous man could be a STEM, a STEM student, right? It's somebody who, he's intelligent, he went to school, he's going to college to become an engineer or something like that, or a scientist or a doctor, but he knows how to shoot. He took Muay Thai classes since he was 6 years old. He's a dangerous man. He just decided to be a career man or whatever. All dangerous men aren't fucking criminals and thugs, and all thugs, you know what I'm saying? So there has to be a balance there, man. You have to, you have to protect your daughters to that degree. It's not just about giving them food and shelter. It's not just about giving them food and shelter and making sure they're educated. It's about making sure that they have the skills to discern, that they have the ability to discern, right? They have to have the ability to analyze situations. And even your daughters, you can teach them, you can raise them up to be dangerous as well. They can take martial art classes, they can shoot at the range, they can carry pocket knives and all this type of shit and know how to use them. They don't have to be weak to the point where if they are attacked by a man, they can't do anything. Yeah, a man is stronger. He's stronger, faster, all this, that, and the third, more endurance, all that. But no man can stand up to a bunch of stab wounds. You understand what I'm saying? Because while he was trying to attack her, she was able to pull out her blade without his knowledge and just start stabbing him in all the right, like in the armpit, you know what I'm saying? All this, and just in the neck. Get him. Hey, at that point, hey, don't worry about his life, because he wasn't concerned about your life when he attacked you. We have to teach our daughters to discern and to be dangerous. But we have to teach them, we have to help them understand also that they are more vulnerable than men. That they can't go toe-to-toe with a man 9 times out of 10 and win. So you have to give them the advantage. You got to give them the leg up. You have to give them the leg up in life. You know, raise them to be ladies, but dangerous ladies as well. Ladies that can handle themselves if they have to. You know, they can, you know, surprise a motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? It just has to be accountability, man. Everybody has to be accountable for their actions. Andrew Tate has to be accountable for how he carried himself while he was doing his thing out here. You know? But invariably, who's almost never held accountable? Who's almost never held accountable? The powers that fucking be. The powers that be. And look, we know that you know, all these people on Ghislaine Maxwell's list, all the what's his name? Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein people, all the Jeffrey Epstein island visitors. We know that there are plenty of those people that will probably never be brought to justice. Right? And that's the problem. That's the problem when you put so much stock in government. When you put so much stock in government and give them so much power, this is what happens, man. I mean, you cannot be surprised. There we go. That was annoying the shit out of me. I know y'all can't see me now, but I need a break from that fucking light. I'm about to get off in a minute anyway. But you know, like I said, Aliza Blue, she was very interesting term. Coercion. Coercion is a very interesting term, and that's what I believe she's going to be hanging the narrative on when she goes after Andrew Tate with her, with the victims she's advocating for, or the survivors. And that's, you know, we got to see what happens. You know, is there actual evidence? That's what we have to look out for. Is there real evidence against Andrew Tate that can bring him down? Right? That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm wondering. And if there is, well, if there's solid evidence that he did these things, that he's an actual human trafficker, well then he don't need to go to jail, right? Summary execution, right? That's what I say. People like that should not be living if they're part of any human trafficking ring where they are holding people against their will and they're making them do certain things, kidnapping, all this type of shit, because those accusations have been hurled against them as well. Kidnapping, being held hostage, all that shit. You don't need to be living, man. But anyway, I gotta get out of here. Yeah, so much love. Like, share, subscribe. You know, thank you guys for coming through. Thank you for hitting that like button. I know it's mad early. It's what is it, 4 o'clock? A little over 4 o'clock in the morning here. I'm in Georgia now. I just crossed into Georgia. I just crossed into Georgia. Oh shit! God damn it! Just crossed over into Georgia, and yeah, I got a few hours. I got about 3 hours left before I get to the job site. So I'm out at y'all later. Much love, like, share, subscribe. We're gonna keep our